Good evening, America. My name is Lester Holt.
And I'm Chuck Todd.
We're going to get right to the news today as the presidential race for the Republican primary has heated up. Is that true, Chuck?
It has, Lester.
Earlier today, there was one candidate that made an announcement at a rally. Who was that, Chuck?
Well, earlier today, Bill Billingsworth made the announcement for his presidential candidacy outside his mansion in Venice Beach, California. Our cameras were there to capture it all. Let's take a look.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Billingsworth, billionaire. I'd first like to welcome you all, friends, family, fellow billionaires, to my first rally as I run for President of the United States. Before we begin today, I want to thank a couple of people who made this entire rally possible. The first of which being Mrs. Billingsworth with her wonderful donation, my brother, Charles Billingsworth, and my brother-in-law, Bill Gates. The reason I'm running for president is because I've noticed a strange trend in America these past few years. Back when I was CEO of, I used to work tirelessly to make sure that everybody had a job. Everybody was employed. But today, that's not the case. Employment rates are dropping, or are rising, I should say, and all the people in our country seem to be facing more economic challenges. That's why today, at this very rally, I'm going to be starting with my own personal stimulus package to all of you. Underneath your chairs, you all will find nothing short of $1 million. Go ahead and take a look. Oh, you were shortchanged? Here you go. It's fine. Yes, thank you. I hope you will all put that money to good use. Now, this unemployment problem is not just found in areas of poor economic standing. Just the other day, I was at my yacht club talking to my good friend Warren Buffett, and he was telling me how his 15th butler had to be fired because he could not get the hors d'oeuvres right for his party. That poor man is now out of work. What we need to do is strengthen education so that people know how to properly serve hors d'oeuvres. Otherwise, what are we as a country? America, friends, family, and fellow billionaires, my name is Bill Billingsworth. I'm running for president because it's the right choice. Thank you.
Interesting rally. What do you think Billingsworth's chances are, Chuck?
Well, Lester, with the amount of donations he's receiving, really anything's possible. But there was another announcement today that came from John Peter Paul Mark III.
I believe he's also in the Republican primaries, Chuck. So, I think we have a clip from that. Let's take a look.
Oh, I didn't see you there. My name is John Peter Paul Mark III, and just the other day, I was thinking upon a phrase our great country was founded upon. In God we trust. What a beautiful selection of words. It really inspired me to run for President of the United States. Just as Noah gathered the animals in his ark, I plan to gather the people of America in my metaphorical ark as we weather this storm. It is my duty, my calling, it's a goal to bring America back to the traditional values upon which it was founded. So, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, who was sentenced to death by the one and only Pontius Pilate, I ask for your vote.
Quite an interesting video there, Lester. And I think that's all we had for political news today, though.
Oh, you're correct there, Chuck. Moving on. Earlier this week, there was that earthquake that you heard about in... Hold on. Chuck, are you getting this? Something on the...
I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not really sure what's happening. We're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back.
Hi, I'm Illuminati, coming to you live from my top secret bunker, which even the United States government does not know the exact location of. I don't have much time, but I have a few important words to share with you tonight. I've been in here for the past 7 years, biding my time, keeping an eye on all the X's and O's of the United States government. After seeing the corruption of our children's minds, I have decided to run for President of the United States. As President, I will bring an end to the tyranny and corruption that has plagued our nation. Bullshit 9/11! Our country needs a strong force in the Oval Office. I assure you, I am that force! 11. Political parties are a lie. Democracy is a lie. Your votes don't count. Obama raids the BP oil spill. Bush did Katrina. Sorry. Just remember, a vote for Illuminati is a vote for a new world order. Lou out.
We're very sorry about that interruption. We would also like to make note that the views that were expressed in that video are not representative of the views of NBC News or its affiliates. However, there is some recent news after that announcement. Yes, Chuck?
Yeah, during that interruption, we have some more political news. There was another announcement by another candidate by the name of Karl Marx. I think we have another video of that, don't we?
I think we do. Let's take a look.
Hello, my fellow Americans. My name is Karl Marx. No, not the Karl Marx, as you may think, but I was named after him. My book is new and out this week. It's entitled The 5 Steps to a Communist America. The foreword is written by one of my dear friends, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and it is dedicated to a role model in my life, communist dictator Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I'm running for president this year because I think that America needs to move in a more socialist direction, a more communist direction. I consider myself to be very pro-proletariat. Now, don't think that I'm suggesting a lower class uprising. I'm not. Although I do suggest that you exercise your Second Amendment right to bear arms, because if and when I become dictator of America, you won't have a Bill of Rights at all. But that is in the future. So please, start thinking about what a communist America means to you, and how Karl Marx could lead that communist America. Remember to pick up my book, The 5 Steps to a Communist America, at a local Barnes & Noble or black market dealer near you. And I will see you in the race for president.
Good evening. It's that time of year again. The primaries are over and each party has decided who they want to run for President of the United States. The Republicans have chosen Commander Buzz Uka, and the Democrats have chosen Representative Paul E. Nomiel.
That's right. In only a few short moments, we will have the first of 3 presidential debates.
I would like to point out that the debate will be hosted by my longtime friend and colleague, Mr. Brian Williams, who will be returning from his forced hiatus from this very network.
Oh my god, I hate that guy. Look at that smirk on his dumb face. I hope you forget everything you're about to say.
I really hope you trip on your way to your podium.
You too.
Good evening, and welcome to the Massachusetts Turnpike campus of Salter College. My name is Brian Williams. After saving a small number of puppies from a burning building and discovering a cure for Ebola, I've arrived by helicopter to be tonight's moderator for the first of 3 presidential debates. The topics for tonight's debate are as follows: pollution and global warming, the economy and unemployment, foreign affairs, and military spending. Speaking for the Republican Party is Commander Buzz Uka. Speaking for the Democratic Party is Mr. Paul E. Nomiel. Each candidate will provide an opening statement. After these statements, they each will have an opportunity to answer questions on the previously mentioned topics. Without further ado, let us begin with Mr. Nomiel.
Good evening, my fellow 320.7 million Americans. 97% of you know me based on a recent poll that we've taken, but for the 3% who don't, my name is Paul E. Nomiel. I'm a member of the Democratic Party, and I've been the representative of Silicon Valley, California for the past 12 years. It's my pleasure to be running for president today, as we seem to be facing many challenges in our country during this very difficult time. I plan to improve education through one simple thing: numbers. You see, statistics are one of the binding forces of our nation. They take everything that we've learned and we can put them into one quantifiable number. For instance, I said earlier that 97% of you know me. Hopefully, by the end of this debate, we've bumped that number up to 99. But it's not just about politics. It's about people. The 320.7 million of you are all worried about the state of our nation. And I think that with my help, my experience in Congress, and most importantly, my numbers, we can make a real, lasting change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nomio. And now, Mr. Uka, your opening statement.
Hello, my fellow patriots. I am Commander Bazooka. I have served in the military for numerous, countless years. I was in Vietnam, I was in Bosnia, I was in Chechnya, and I was in Afghanistan. My great-grandfather was in Berlin. My great-great-grandfather was in the Confederate Army, serving valiantly. My great-great-great-grandfather was an aide to George Washington in the Continental Army. I am a true patriot, and that is what this country needs, not some superficial numbers guru, as you have just previously seen. I will demonstrate to this man true American history and demonstrate to this country why I should be the next president of the United States. That is all I have to say.
Now that we've heard the opening statements, we'll move into the questions. Many Americans today are concerned about our country's growing pollution problem. How do you plan to address this problem and its contribution to global warming? Mr. Uka.
Well, global warming has proven to be a thorn in our side for numerous years. It is time that America demonstrates a show and force. It has been completely uncooperative. It is time that we take matters into our own hands and take leadership in the fight against global warming. So I say bomb them. It's the only way. They have proven completely uncooperative to any sort of diplomatics, whatever. And I say we only do one way to do this, and that is through military force and bombing them. That is the only way. America will not give in to global warming.
Okay. Mr. Uka, as a conservative, you're a member of the Republican Party, yes?
Darn right I am.
So, conservatism, shouldn't you be interested in conserving the environment? Well, I'm not sure if bombing the environment or using any military action to combat climate change is the best way to do that. To you, Mr. Williams, 26% of Americans still call it global warming, and that's due to poor reporting like you. We should be calling it climate change, which is what I'm going to refer to it as for the rest of this debate. Under my energy plan, we will become 97% more efficient energy-wise. I'm already starting to do this. I drove here in my hybrid. Now, what does energy efficiency mean? That means we reduce our dependence on foreign oil by cutting off all diplomatic ties to any country in the Middle East. Then, we focus on hydroelectric power, solar power, and nuclear power. That's how we make our country more efficient. That's how we make ourselves a better place and a better world. Not through bombs, but through love.
Thank you, gentlemen. On to our next question. The unemployment rate has been declining over the past few years. How do you intend to keep this trend going? Mr. Nomio.
Well, unemployment is just that, a trend. And you can calculate a trend using mathematical formulas. So in my work, I've been able to prove that unemployment has a horizontal asymptote at about 3.4%. So under my plan, I'd be able to get unemployment down to 3.4%, one of the lowest our nation has ever seen. But to those 3.4% of Americans, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. I won't be able to get you a job. However, unemployment is definitely geographical. There are certain areas that have heavy unemployment, and certain areas that don't. In my own district in Silicon Valley in California, I've actually never met an unemployed person. So, as much as I'd like to think that I have experience working with unemployed people, I don't. That shows something about my leadership, that the people I surround myself are employed. So, when I surround myself with you, as president, I can assure you that you too will be employed, as long as you're not in the 3.4%. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nomio. Mr. Uka, your thoughts.
Well, I don't know much about all those funny numbers Mr. Nomio's just been talking about, but I do know that when I was in the war, I saw firsthand the importance of a powerful and lethal leader. So, I plan to take that knowledge and apply it to unemployment. I make this a promise, I will vanquish this force. I will defend America from unemployment. It can run, but it won't hide with me in charge. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. As we progress further into the 21st century and towards a more interconnected world, foreign policy will become increasingly important. How do you plan to protect America's interests abroad in this global platform? Mr. Nomiel.
Well, my fellow 320.7 million Americans, foreign policy is very important to the development of our nation, especially in the 21st century as we become a more global society. Now, I must tell you, I've never actually left the United States of America, but I've heard that some places are very nice, like Canada, France, Tanzania, and Texas. But I do know that in these 196 countries, we need to have a dress shoes on the ground policy. Now, this is different from the boots on the ground policy that Mr. Uka would propose. We need to form diplomatic ties with every nation, form alliances. Now, I might not know a lot about American history, as I tend to study numbers more than people. But I can assume that forming alliances with everybody would help us achieve peace, not war. So here's what I plan to do. Form an alliance between Israel and Palestine. Form an alliance of us with North and South Korea. That way, wars will stop and peace will thrive. Thank you.
Well, I'd first like to address two things Mr. Nomiel brought up in that answering of his. First, I do agree that Texas is the best state in the world, but I'd also like to address his point about the boots on the ground, which I do think is the best way to address foreign affairs. I mean, if you look at it this way, the best way to execute any sort of foreign affair is a show of force. Ultimately, the best course of action is world domination, which I would address directly, because if you do that, you eliminate any sort of foreign affair, and it just becomes one big domestic affair. Best course of action. Pretty obvious. But I also like to point out that Mr. Nomiel suggests that we ally with everyone. I think we only need one alliance, and that's with ourselves. Ally with patriotism. Patriotism is the only way to get anywhere in the world today. That's what I have to say on foreign affairs.
Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to our final question. At this time, the United States government spends a large portion of its budget on the military. What is your opinion on this use of taxpayer money? Mr. Uka.
You're darn right that the U.S. government spends a lot of money on its military. And it's a good thing, too. We got threats like global warming threatening our freedom of every hour of every day. In fact, now that I think about it, we don't spend enough money on our military. Do you know how much a nuclear missile costs? Well, I can tell you what. It's a lot more than a package of peanuts down at the general store, and for that reason, we can never invest enough in our defense. I mean, we need nuclear missile upon nuclear missile, and we will never have enough with the way things are going.
Mr. Uka, let me give you some numbers here. 32% of Americans aged 63 to 67 are not in favor of an increase in military spending. So even though that's a minority, that's still 32% of Americans. Think about that.
Well, I can tell you that they don't know what they're talking about, have obviously never seen anything like I have when I've been in the war. And if they had, they would know the importance of nuclear missiles. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Let me offer a solution for you. With my dress shoes on the ground policy, I'm also planning on sending not nuclear missiles, but love missiles. You see, our nation has a weak diplomacy with other nations that we might not get along with. Instead of bombing them, we should show them kindness and affection. That lessens our number of dollars spent in military spending, and we can divert that cost and that extra money that we now have to things like education, preferably in mathematics, and that would bolster our economy as well. So, while we may not have anything to protect us from any threats under my plan, we will have love, and we will have intense knowledge of mathematics. You choose, America. Thank you.
That concludes our questions for this evening. Time for the closing statements. Mr. Uka.
Patriotism, freedom, nuclear missiles, and Texas. I hold these four things dearly, and I know that America holds these four things dearly. When I was in the war, I saw firsthand the threats that face our country. And I propose that we do everything possible, everything necessary to squash anything, and I do mean anything, that stands in the way of these essential American ideals. Whether that be China, the Middle East, global warming, or Mr. Nomiel himself, who seems to think that numbers solve all these issues. So, I would like to end on that note. So I thank you for your time, and please support the troops.
And Mr. Nomiel.
America, it's time for a change. Tonight, you've heard two very different plans given to you on how we can take our country to a new place. There is my plan, and there is the plan of Mr. Uka. Mr. Uka has represented a military solution for nearly every problem, about 99.7%. That other 0.3%, mind you, is any problem that deals with Texas. There is no military solution there. We try to be peaceful with that one. But rather, I offer you a different plan. I offer you a plan based in facts and figures. A plan that will take our country to a new absolute maximum. It is my pleasure to have been able to stand here today, and it would be my greatest honor to serve you as Commander-in-Chief for 4 years. I hope you'll grant me this opportunity, and I hope that you vote not only with your mind, but with your brain as well. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. It seems we forgot. We have an independent candidate tonight. Mr. John Smith. Mr. Smith, take the last few seconds. Hi, I'm John Smith, and I'm really
Oh,
excited.
sorry, Mr. Smith. That's all the time we have. Good night, everybody.